they're gonna wear a shirt that says like it's manly to be safe. Like you're a liar. It's all a facade just so that you look good for your liability insurance. Like,
Welcome back to the Blue Collar Future Podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Robinson, and we have our co-host with us today, Jesse. Hey, what's up?
yeah,
Good, good, man. Just been working on sprinklers, becoming a landscaper, I guess.
hey,
I don't
you're
know.
down there already. You might as well.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm already on my knees all day.
Yeah,
Might as well figure out another way to be down there, make
yeah.
use of it.
Good. You got to get it in before winter starts. Then.
Yeah, I'm trying to get so the yards or the backyard's not a muddy mess for the dog and
Yeah,
and for us, so we can be out there. But everything's so expensive, dude. It's crazy.
freaking
I,
wild, bro. Like, I need to
yeah.
replace this window in front of me, and I don't want to do it. It's wild.
That reminds me, actually, the drywall guys when they were doing my house cracked my window, and I never got it replaced. I think they even got a window ordered in, and I forgot to reach back out to them. Whoops. The we never noticed it because the blinds were always down, so
Yeah,
I forget. Yeah, that's the worst. When you're building a house and people are in there working on top of each other and stuff, and you never know what's happening until everybody's done and the windows were taped up and stuff.
yeah.
Speaking of that
I,
too, the stone
yeah.
guys freaking cut through my patio when they were on it.
Really?
Yeah, dude, they were like, I told them to put paper down because I had stamped concrete, and
Yeah.
they cut in a few places like a little probably 16th of an inch, probably by 6 or 8 inches long of a cut through my patio, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Tell you to be careful, and this is what you do?
I mean, yeah. Instead of putting it up on a stand or putting wood underneath it, let's just cut with our grinder right on the finished concrete.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, they probably didn't even see it. I'm betting it wasn't the guy that did that put the paper up, so he probably wouldn't have even known.
Yeah, tough.
Yeah. How's your job going?
Good. I mean, this week's probably gonna be a mess because they're starting to pour the floor on the north end, which I really don't understand why they do this. I don't understand, other than schedule, why you would want to pour a floor underneath masons that are working, but
Yeah.
that'll be fun. So they're gonna pour over there on tomorrow, and so they're gonna pour on the northwest side, so we'll be on the northeast side. And then Thursday they're gonna pour on the east side, and so we'll just kind of flip flop around them. But that one
Yeah.
wall's topped out. That one wall's topped out on the south side, and then we've got the Fracco and the crank up all the way around the north side, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's coming along.
It's going.
Yeah, we'll have to get you
Yeah,
to
I thought
come.
I was
We'll
gonna.
have to come get your drone shots.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been working away from there, so I haven't been able to even be up that way. And it's crazy how quick your guys' stuff goes up,
Yeah,
too.
yeah, it's pretty much 4 feet a day.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, every time I drove by, we actually have some townhomes to do that are up on the highway in sight from your job that are supposed to be on the schedule at some point soon. There's like four of them or something.
Oh yeah,
Four buildings in sight will be
we had to
neighboring
wave at you.
jobs. Yeah,
Be
we'll
like
be able
Forrest
to.
Gump.
I was driving by. Yeah, yeah, dude. I was driving by and I looked over from where those were at. They're right on the highway, and I could see your
Uh-huh.
guys' scaffolding up down there. And I was like, shoot, this is coming. Neighboring jobs, dude.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Just just when I thought I was going to be trained up to be a mason or something, gotta start up. Gotta go
They're gonna
hog
keep
tend
you
or
on your
something.
knees.
Oh yeah. I don't know. It sounds
Oh,
like I'm getting trained up doing a lot of stuff. Getting trained up doing sprinklers. Might as well join your guys' job, hog tend or
yeah,
something.
dude, you can be a handyman now.
Learn the masonry on the side and do it as a job.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, let's get into our questions because we have some interesting questions that are some change up ones. I got a question about concrete finishing, so this is going to be good. This will be good. I think we were talking before we recorded. You were wondering the same thing a little bit.
Yeah, because I didn't know what the alternative was. So
Yeah. So one of my followers commented on a video of mine asking about finishing exterior concrete with steel, like with a steel trowel or not,
Hmm.
and kind of what is the line that you draw when it's okay, if not. A lot of people nowadays are complaining about this new age concrete that we have, and I don't know if you know about what's going on with it, but they're replacing large portions of the mix with limestone and trying to get it to be like eco-friendly, green, whatever. And so we're on type 1L, and they're supposed to be changing to another type. I think we're at 10 or 15% limestone. I can't remember. I'd have to go look that up. And we're supposed to be like on this plan from the Green New Deal or something like that,
Hmm.
that has us replacing more and more over the next however long until it's like the acceptable amount. And I don't think it's law, but I think there's so many incentives to doing it that the concrete companies like have to. And the big suppliers around here where they're getting their cement powder from is forcing them. So in order to get like regular cement powder like what we used to use, it's way too expensive. You got to like outsource it to another country or something like that, or like somewhere in the country that probably doesn't have the capability to supply big companies. So people are blaming problems with concrete on type 1L, and this question always comes up. And I get it on my videos as well about troweling exterior concrete. And what your question was like, what is the alternative? I think people typically will mag, like they'll run their magnesium float and smooth it out with that, and then just broom it that way. What happens with a steel trowel is it seals off the surface and traps moisture in. And the magnesium float doesn't really do that. It doesn't like trap all the pores or seal them off, I guess.
Hmm.
So the idea being, if you're troweling your concrete, you're trapping moisture in by sealing the surface off, and then it's not allowing that moisture to escape as it sets up and
Hmm.
cures. So that compromises the surface. There's a couple rebuttals there. So when you broom concrete, it rips the surface open again, so it really doesn't do what people think it is. But
Sure.
like if you're troweling your concrete too early, and then when you go back to broom it, you're brooming it once it's hard, and you're like using a water broom or something. I mean, that is like all of the worst case scenarios for finishing concrete. Just so happens to be the way that a lot of people do it. So a lot of
Yeah.
people around here will like use one of those big vibrators with the 8-foot blades on them to screed the
Hmm.
concrete. Step number one, working it too much. And then they'll sit there and like bull float the crap out of it and run a Fresno on it and get it all sealed up and looking nice. And then they'll like go back later with a Fresno again. And Fresnos are made of steel. They're like a bull float, but they're made of steel, like a
Hmm.
trowel. And or they'll go by hand and finish it, but it'll be too wet when they finish it. And then they'll go through later and water broom it. So like causing all sorts of problems with the surface, overworking it, finishing it too wet, and then when they go to broom it, they're not really brooming it in the way that will rip the surface open again because it's hard.
Hmm.
They're using water on it as well. There's like a whole bunch of problems that can be caused, and it's all from improper finishing techniques. So like all of this to say that the way that we do it is we screed it and bull float it, and it gets bull floated once each way, just enough to get it to look nice, or to be sealed up nice, I guess. And when we go through and finish it, we don't finish it too wet, and then we
Hmm.
broom it immediately with like a horsehair broom.
Yeah.
So even though we're troweling it and sealing the surface off or sealing it up or whatever, the broom rips it open right after with the pattern the texture that it gives to it. So
Hmm.
we're not finishing it too wet, and then also brooming it immediately, so it's not really causing the problem that people think. The main thing that's the issue is working the surface too much and finishing it too wet, which doesn't really have anything to do with steel on the exteriors. but it gets blamed on it because it's just an easy thing to blame it on. The real problem is like improper finishing techniques. So it's more complicated than you might think, I guess. I mean, there's a lot to concrete that people just are like, oh yeah, well, don't you just like flatten it out and it's done?
Yeah.
But there's a big process to it, and if you don't do it right, it can cause issues. And also, one of the things that sucks about this is like if you're in Southern California, that's a super different climate than here, and they can do practically whatever they want to the concrete because they're not going to have to deal with freeze thaw.
Hmm.
They don't have salt from the snow plows like blasting everything, and people aren't tempted to throw salt because there's no freeze thaw. That's the type of stuff that busts the concrete apart anyways. Salt's not good for the surface of the concrete. It'll cause it to spall and the top to pop off. And then when
Hmm.
you drive on top of the snow and like you don't shovel it, you drive on top of the snow on the concrete, it like turns it to ice, and then that water will get down into the pores of the concrete and penetrate and expand and bust the surface apart.
Mm.
Those are the main problems anyways that does it, because you can do improper finishing practices and not ever salt the concrete and also never drive on it, and you'll probably never have it fall apart. All that stuff does is make it easier to fall apart because it compromises the integrity of the surface.
Hmm.
It's I don't know, it all comes down to improper finishing techniques or practices, and I've never understood the why people are so afraid of the steel trowels because we do it on everything. And when we go see the few jobs that we have or whatever that have issues, it's almost always on a driveway that faces north, so it gets zero sun on it. And
Hmm.
you can almost tell it's places where they get walked on a lot, where they're probably throwing salt down. It's like peeling apart, and it's usually not very much. Or you can
Hmm.
see tracks in the driveway of stuff popping off, and we're like, I can tell you drove on this in the snow, and it's literally tire tracks. So
Yeah.
you're literally doing what we told you not to do. So we've had to start going around and like taking pictures if we happen to drive by a job and we can see like snow covering the entire driveway and a bunch of tracks going across it, because
Yeah.
it's just protection for us at that point. You have to take care of the concrete. But all that to say, like, we don't have issues, so it's never made sense to me.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know
it
what.
sounds like it's correlation instead of it sounds like it's correlation instead of
Yeah,
causation, you know?
yeah. I don't know what you've heard about all of this stuff, but most people here, like, yeah, you can't use steel on exterior concrete, and it's like, I mean, that's not really the full answer there.
Mm.
Maybe if you don't know how it works, I guess you can't, but it's
Yeah.
a big argument even amongst people in the industry.
Can you burn concrete like with the magnesium? So like with our joiners and stuff, they have magnesium in the barrel, and if you tool the joints too many times, you can burn them. Will it do the same thing on concrete?
Yeah, in fact, it'll burn the concrete faster with magnesium. So that's pretty easy to like test out if you ever have anything to finish.
Hmm.
The way people usually finish concrete is with steel blades
Hmm.
on a power trowel, or even with your hand trowel. Like we've almost burned stuff in with the steel with our trowels before. But
Hmm.
as it gets harder, that magnesium it moves the concrete around more and it works it more.
Hmm.
So as it sets up harder and gets harder, like essentially burns it faster, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
the trowel takes a lot longer to burn it, but it also makes it look better. So that's how it's like the burn finishes are always with power trowels, and they have finishing blades on them. Yeah.
Hmm. When you say like you're finishing it too wet and stuff like that, like I've poured very little concrete, right? Like I've poured pads for mailboxes or done like tops of chimneys and stuff like that. As someone who doesn't work with concrete, it's like it seemed like the more you'd the more I would work it, the wetter it would get. Like the water would come to the top. Like if I
Hmm.
maybe I was too early or something. So is that what you're talking about when you're saying you're working it too wet and working it too hard, or is that?
Yes, that's actually so. That is a byproduct of overworking it as well. So
Hmm.
that's the difference, I guess, between your floats and your trowels, too.
Mm-hmm.
So your floats will bring the moisture up, specifically the magnesium ones,
Mm-hmm.
because you're disturbing the surface and stuff. It'll make it wetter essentially,
Mm. Yeah.
and the trowel will just like seal off the surface. If you're looking at concrete and you go run your mag on something, your magnesium float, and then you go run a steel trowel next to it, the place where you run the steel trowel will get harder because you've sealed off the surface, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not really harder underneath. It's just the top of it. But the place where you ran your
Yeah.
mag will kind of stay wetter longer, I guess.
Hmm.
So what I mean by overworking is a lot of people, they'll start off by vibrating their exterior concrete, which that's also a big like argument amongst people that don't know about this, but you're not really supposed to do that. You can if you pour it stiff enough, but if you pour it too
Mm-hmm.
wet, which is how all of the people do that vibrate the stuff, which too wet being like a over a 6-inch slump. So if you have over
Okay.
that and then you vibrate it, and that's the way you're screeding it, because we screed by hand with a
Yeah.
wooden board. And if you're doing that and then you bowl float it and then you run a Fresno across it, you're doing all of this stuff and then you go work it again, that's like
Mm-hmm.
way too many steps. That's overworking it.
Gotcha.
When we do it, we essentially bowl float it 2 times. You know, a lot of people will go through like freaking 4 or 5 times and
Mm-hmm.
do it 2 times after we've screeded it. Screeding it doesn't really count. And then, or at least the way we do it, because we do it with a board, and
Mm-hmm.
we wait until it's hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
So by hard enough, I mean like if you were to get on knee boards, I guess, out on it, you're not really like leaving much of an indentation in the concrete.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
but it's still workable. It's still like you can scrub on it and it'll be good. So
Yeah.
there's like a little, it's a fine line, but usually you look at it as, okay, I'm not making much of a indent on this. It's about good. So it almost comes down to more of a feel than anything. But
That's fair.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
Mikey was doing this house, like the brick fell apart because like it was like an actual brick home and they had wire running in for the electrical and some or like the phone or something, and the dog got a hold of it and pulled the corner apart. And so Mike formed it up and then put it, but I was like, hey dude, and I know you're doing a side job, it's night, but like you're probably gonna have to wait a minute or else
uh-huh.
whatever. And like how I said, it was like if you work it like like to me it seemed like if it's you work it too soon or too hard, it gets wet. Because I've had it like
Hmm.
you're trying to fill something, and then like the more you work it, like thinking like, oh cool, I'll get this perfect, it like falls out more. And that's
Yeah,
exactly
yeah,
what happened to him. He goes, I got impatient, it fell out. Yeah.
yeah. So that's the thing, is it's all about timing, and you try to lay it. I would break it into 2 segments, and we'll finish this off with this because
Hmm.
man, we've been taking
Yeah,
a
or
long time on this one. So we break our pours into like 2 sections, essentially pour and finish. You
hmm
want to pour it and get it sealed up and done, not touch it again until it's ready to finish. And a lot of people will take it as like this freaking all day process where they sit there and constantly are messing with it. But you really just
yeah.
want to like get it sealed up and left alone, and then wait until it's hard enough, until the moisture's all kind of come up to the surface, and obviously not too wet, and then finish it. So that's the gist. And doing stuff like that's always hard too. So yeah, I mean it's all timing.
Yeah. Or
Yes, let's move on to the next one. When does safety on paper translate to safety on the job site? And the rest of the question was basically, it always seems to matter until you're behind, pretty much.
yeah. Personally, I think that's up to the health and safety guy on site, or that's your go between you and the general, or you and the owner, and everybody else, or whatever it may be. I think people need to keep in mind that like what's like there are people out on the job site, not numbers or things like that. So like I had a conversation with the health and safety guy from Wadman on our job today, and he's like, he goes, my job's not to show up and take pictures of you and get you in trouble. My job is to show up and be like, hey, what are we doing here? Like he's like, I don't like this. Like, let's walk through it. So, at one point we had our scaffold that was 16 inches down. It's supposed to be 32, but they had raised up over here. So he was worried about harnesses and stuff. And I was like, well, dude, I can lower the scaffold, right?
Uh-huh.
Or like rebar caps or, your hard hats and everything else. But then he's also the type of, he's like, hey, Jesse, like, how are you? How's everything going? Check in with you, which I thought was pretty cool because it's not, we've had the people that just like take a picture and they're like, that dude's doing this wrong, and they'll send an email to the office, and then like I was like, why don't you just turn and say, hey, you're unsafe, right? Like, let's work through how to fix this. So I think a lot of it comes down to your safety officer, but also it comes down to like the GC or whoever's between you and the owner or whoever's in charge of like worrying about the schedule stands up for the people that are on site because
Mm-hmm.
like that student housing job, they would, they're pushing us because they're 2 months behind when we showed up. That has nothing to do with us, but they're, pushing you to do certain things and work overtime. And then they're putting the welder on top of you or someone working underneath you and like all this sort of, and they put everybody together. And so it falls on them. But then, they're going to wear a shirt that says like, it's manly to be safe. Like you're a liar. It's all a facade just so that you look good for your liability insurance. Like
Yeah.
it just takes, standing up for your crew and standing up for the people on site. Like as you go further and further, like the more people you got to represent, those people need to stand up for the conditions. It's
Mm-hmm.
stupid. Because he's right. Like Kevin that asked this question is like, you get there on job site and everyone's like, cool, safety's number one. And then 6 weeks down the road, they're like, we need to get all this done, so we're all going to work in this tiny area right on top of each other. I'm like, how about we don't? It's the same reason. Like, why are we pouring concrete underneath the wall I'm trying to finish? But it's just job sites are
Yeah.
stupid. I don't know, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
we got to stand up for ourselves and then stand up for your crew and stand up for the people on site. Like it's as you go up that ladder of leadership, and it's ignorant.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like on those bigger jobs up to how the, health and safety guy actually is managing his job because just showing up and taking a picture doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help all it does is make him be like, "Oh, cool, look, I caught you doing something wrong." And that doesn't
Exactly.
do anything. That doesn't do anything. I mean, going around and building a relationship with these people and asking like, what's the matter here? Is this really okay?
Mm-hmm.
What can we do to make this a little more safe? Or hey, I'm not comfortable with this. Like, we need
Mm-hmm.
to do something better here. And
Mm-hmm.
then you have an opportunity to step in and be like, well, I mean, yeah, we can do that, but this is a problem and this is a problem, and then they can actually go and address things that are maybe in your way or maybe preventing
Mm-hmm.
you from doing it right. There's a lot of things there, but it also does come down to personal responsibility and especially of your boss. So I think
Mm-hmm.
everybody has a responsibility for themselves to be like, look, I this isn't safe. I'm not comfortable with this.
Right.
And you have a responsibility to make sure you're safe, but your boss has a responsibility to make sure that you guys are also safe. And if you go look at like the OSHA requirements or whatever, like the rules set in place, your boss is always required to provide you with anything you need for safety technically.
Mm-hmm.
So like hard hats, masks, whatever else that there might be. And actually, you know what? He might not be required to provide, they might, but they have to make sure you're aware. So I think on the mask thing in particular, you have to explain what the problems could be with inhaling silica dust, which you guys are going to have the same
Mm-hmm.
problem on your jobs.
Yeah.
And I think it's then up to personal responsibility to make sure you have masks, but it will be different if the job site requires it too. So there's
Mm-hmm.
like some layers in there. And then where in residential construction where I'm at, there's none of that crap. There's none of it. So it's probably not good. It's all
Yeah.
up to personal responsibility. But that comes down to people on the job have to make sure that they are being aware of circumstances and of schedules and overtime and I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah.
I think everybody wants to deflect onto somebody else, but we could all do better in this situation to take responsibility first, to be like point something out or to take it into your own hands or whatever it is. Because if it is something you're concerned about, then it is your responsibility to make sure that either you're taken care of or that it's pointed out. If it's not, if it's not handled.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean.
It's hard.
And a lot of it, like safety gets a bad rap because it's stuff like the new Type 2 hard hats. Like we all know that that's not because they're safer than my hard hat. It's because it looks better for your liability, right? But they push it so hard, And it's stuff like that. It's like you got to have there's a line, of like, okay, well, like, yeah, you need to wear your hard hat, especially if stuff's above you, or like I have a hard time with. There's the dudes that are doing the Google fire out here outside my house, and they're all wearing hard hats and stuff, but they're like, there's not a darn thing or piece of equipment that's above them, but they have to because it's a liability. And like that sort of stuff is like, where it starts to fall on deaf ears because we're not dumb. We're like, oh, this isn't because you want me to be safe. This is because you want
Yeah.
to pay less of a premium.
Yeah.
And so I think you need to,
Yeah.
walk that line of like, hey, we need people in those positions that actually care. And it's like you said, we're having a conversation about safety, not that guy's not there to get me in trouble. He's there to make sure that like everything goes well. And then it's my personal responsibility that I get home safe.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's just like
Yeah.
it's that's what it all comes down to. Is like you said, it's all accountability from bottom to top and top back to bottom.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you pointed out something important there about the like you see a lot of these commercial companies that will be out working, and so like concrete guys will be required to wear steel toe boots and hard hats. And I have never dropped anything on my foot in the over 10 years that I've been doing this, and I've never had anything even close to hitting me in the head because we don't work with stuff overhead or that is a concern of being dropped on our feet. Like almost ever. Like I've never even come close to that. But then they'll want you to because it looks good on paper. And so they're worrying about things
Yeah.
that aren't really the important aspect of what I mean, safety glasses are more
Hmm.
important for us in general.
Yeah.
Making sure you have a good pair of gloves depending on what you're doing. Like there's things that are more important that don't get looked at as much. So
Yeah.
I always laugh when we go on jobs and we have to wear a hard hat because it's like unless we're using a pump, there's nothing even remotely close to dropping on our head. Unless
Yeah.
we're on an unsafe job site where we're working around other people and they might throw some random thing on our head, like
Yeah.
those guys working underneath you guys or something, because it's a dumb thing to
Yeah.
have to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a big thing, like you mentioned, there's more things that are more important too. Of like, I have a hard time with the dude that's like, and this is, uh, I don't think he's ever going to hear this, but William is really, really good as the health and safety guy. Is because, like I said, he has those conversations with you, checks in how you are, what's going on and stuff. But you have that dude that's like, you need to wear high vis, you need to wear a hard hat, you need to do this. But then like, you've got the same company. It's like, you guys need to work overtime, you need to work Saturdays, you need to be away from your family, you need to do this, you need to do
Yeah.
that. I can only tolerate the like logistical like I said, or the tangible, not logistical, but the tangible items for so long if you ignore the non-tangible. So like mental health and physical health and all those sort of things matter just as much as me wearing my high vis shirt. And so it's
Yeah.
it's when you get to a point of like where you can tell that the GC or the owner doesn't care about this, I really don't care about this. So like I'll I'm up on the scaffold. I don't really need to wear a bright orange shirt. You're not going to run me over. But like it's a double-edged sword on that point. But yeah, I have a hard time with safety not including things like mental and physical health as well because those are more important than the other things. Like if you show up to work and you haven't taken care of your body or taken care of your mental health, you're not going to make the right decisions, and that puts you and everybody else in trouble. And so we need to check
Yeah.
in on our people and
Which,
those sort of things.
which I mean, this kind of probably comes down to the personal responsibility aspect of it, I guess, because they're
Hmm.
trying to control what they for sure can control. But if we're
Hmm.
talking about this in reference to safety people being a conversation instead of enforcing all of these arbitrary rules like high vis for people that work on scaffolding and steel
Hmm.
toe boots and stuff for people that probably don't even ever have anything close to dropping on their feet or like nothing. I mean, it's
Yeah.
instead of focusing on these like top level or like or I guess these just any
Surface
very
level.
basic, yeah, surface level, very basic like visual things. How about having a conversation with all your guys and making sure that they're getting enough sleep and making sure that they
Hmm.
have enough time off and making sure that they're drinking their water because even if you provide water, you can't make people drink water, you know. But you can have a
Yeah,
conversation with them
yeah,
about it and say,
right.
"Hey, man, you probably you don't look too good. Maybe you need to drink some water or something." Or if you've got guys that are super overweight, maybe you should try to help them figure that out. But this is all down to stuff they can't control. So, and they're not
Hmm.
having conversations. It's just got you moments. And
Yeah.
instead of just making it a conversation about like overall safety and health in the trades and like being sustainable. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think that everybody probably needs to do a little bit better. And if it's not better on your job, take it in your own hands.
Yeah. Be
And
your
kind
brother's
of,
keeper.
yep, yep, make sure your guys are safe and everybody's doing good. Because
Hmm.
working all the long hours, a lot of people like to flex that. A lot of that's not sustainable, especially if you're not taking care of yourself. I mean, it gets pretty hard on people, and that's why I think a lot of guys have mental health issues and stuff, is because it's demanding physically and mentally. And if you're not taking care of yourself, it gets really hard to keep going through that.
Hmm.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next one. So, this was one we got a while ago. Didn't want to cover it up until now. Advice for a 20-year-old with his Class A. I'm pretty sure Class A is, I'm assuming that's the highest form of a commercial license, right? Driver's license?
Give me 2 seconds, I can tell you.
Look it up. Just make sure I'm not getting this wrong because I don't have a
Say this
Class
is
A.
not my world. Yeah. Class A is the highest commercial driver's license, CDL tier, required to operate any vehicle, combination of vehicles with a combined weight of 26,001 pounds or more, as long as the towed unit weighs more than 10,000 pounds, such as a tractor trailer.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So we're at the tippy top of this.
yes. So, my advice is, and this is based off of what I have seen and heard from people, is like if you're a truck driver, most companies are paying pretty much the same.
Hmm.
One problem that the trucking industry has is a high turnover rate, and it's literally just because they can't keep drivers around. Whether it's you're driving dump trucks or you're doing long haul stuff or short deliveries or whatever, they can't keep guys, so they'll go like try to poach people and offer them, oh yeah, you'll get so many more hours, or we'll give you 50 cents more an hour, or we'll give you, this little benefit added on to what you're getting. And so people will end up switching jobs all the time for pennies more than what they make, and it ends up being not as good of a situation either, because it's a
Hmm.
classic example of the grass is always greener. And then they'll end up
Hmm.
going back to where they're working or being like overall dissatisfied. I think like general baseline advice would be to try to find a company and stick with them instead of being one of these people that freaking hops to all of the different trucking companies, because
Hmm.
that's like a major issue. I don't know if you have any friends that drive trucks. This is mainly from a conversation I had with someone that
Yeah.
owns a trucking company.
No, yeah, I'm not like I know a couple hot shots and stuff like that, but they're doing stuff on their own. But like the like grass is always greener effect is like within the last 2 years we had a couple people, that are like, oh, I'm gonna like, I don't like it here, all this stuff. I'm gonna go work over here. I'm gonna go work for the big contractor in Salt Lake. I'm gonna go do all this stuff, and like, we keep everything pretty local. You don't have to travel. You're home every night, like that sort of thing and whatnot. Whereas if you go work for, IMS, you're all over the place because they're all over the place, which, it's a good opportunity when if you're in that mode. But the kid, like for instance, that I'm talking about, quit and then not even a month later was calling me like, "Can I have my job? Like, do you think you could give me my job back?" I was like, "No, you kind of lit that bridge on fire and walked across it. So no." But like, yeah, I assume it's the same thing. It's just like, well, like this looks great over here. And it's like, well, if it could be great. Like, don't get me wrong. That guy could be pretty good at keeping his lawn nice. But, you need to just weigh all of your factors in the situation and make sure that everything's right for you and that sort of thing. And like once you find a company that's good to you and good for you and there's the upward mobility and everything else can be taken care of, you should stay there and, ride that wave
Yeah.
would be my opinion. But
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's exactly it. I think The hard part about trucking from the stuff that I've seen is most people get money based off of the hours that they work, not necessarily the pay. And that's kind of what I was mentioning
Yeah.
with like the pay's pretty much the same across the board. It's just, oh yeah, here's a little extra benefit here, or oh, we'll promise you that you can get, you know, 10 more hours a week than you're getting right now. But there's only so many
Yeah.
hours you can work. There's only so much little tiny things they can add. I try to find a company, stick with it, and look at different industries that could require it. So in the concrete industry, you could go be a mixer driver, cement truck
Hmm.
driver. They make pretty decent money, but it's all reliant on hours. Or you
Hmm.
could go look at being like an operator of a pump. They need their CDLs to drive their pumps around. Or a crane operator, I'm assuming is sort of similar. Some of those
Hmm.
bigger cranes that they drive around. Like there's different avenues you can go down. I think
Hmm.
you just got to do research and then try to stick with a company, really, because it's just the grass is always greener. We know people that jump around all over the place and go back and forth between the pump companies, the concrete company to the pump company, and back and forth. And it's always like, oh yeah, well they make so much money over here, and then you go over there and it's because they're working 100 hours a week or whatever it is,
Hmm.
and it doesn't always equate that way. So
Yeah.
try to find a good company and stick with them. I think that's my the grass is not always greener, pretty much ever.
Yeah. The grass is greener where you water it.
Yeah, exactly. And so another thing, you can use your experience to build your own company or move up in a bigger company. Same thing, like move into management or administration of the company. Those are all options if you play your cards right and are loyal to them.
Hmm.
So, kind of last one is also going to be along this avenue, and it is how often or not do you hear from people getting into the trades from white collar jobs? And
Seems like increasingly.
yes, I would say the same. And increasingly on social media, you see that. And I have heard people specifically that have either moved from a white collar job to a blue collar job or want to.
Hmm.
It's hard because I think a lot of people have been fed lies about the trades for the last 50 years about how they're terrible and you can't go anywhere, you don't make enough money, um, you're just dirty and uneducated, you know, all these
Hmm.
types of things. But the reality is a lot of trades can be super satisfying, and there's a lot of white collar jobs that are like 100% not satisfying. And
Yeah.
anytime you sit and stare at a computer all day, you're gonna go insane. So
Right.
you got to have like a really high level of either interest in what you do or full high level of fulfillment outside of what you do for work to do those jobs, and a lot of people don't. So they'll be getting into jobs where they're mainly working from their computer and they're going crazy because it is not in human nature. Imagine how long the computer's been around. We were not designed to
Hmm.
sit at a desk all day and stare at a computer screen. So it's just, I think it's happening a lot more, and it's,
Yeah.
I think, mainly because there's an appeal to learning how to build things and create things with your hands.
Yeah, and I think as like our generation and younger seeks fulfillment over paychecks, like it's gonna go even more so as long as we can market it that way and show people that that's the truth. I'm like, yes, you can make good money and money runs the world. I get that, but like, there's so many of us that like I want to be fulfilled at work. I want to like be passionate about what I do. I don't want to just clock in, clock out. Like it drives that
Mm-hmm.
would drive me nuts. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that that's the case for like Gen Z and millennials is like we want to be passionate about what we do and have a purpose and be fulfilled. So I think as long as we can continue to show that that's, the truth in trades and get people in those positions where that is the truth. And, you need to work for companies that where, that grass is green and, that's, you have that opportunity there. But that's just going to continue to be a selling point of our industry is like, hey, you can stand back and look at this and be like, I did that. You don't. I always make a joke of like No one's traveled across the world to look at someone's spreadsheet, but people travel all over the place to look at buildings.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's this whole conversation is hard, and obviously this is what our goal is with the podcast is to bring light to the trades. And it's not like you can't be fulfilled and enjoy what you do
Hmm.
being in a white collar job, but being sold that as the only option, I think, is what's causing the problem. Because there's a lot of people that just either aren't made for it or don't have a desire, but they went to school because it's what you're supposed to do and just don't care for it. So I've had conversations with a lot of people that wish that they could just go learn how to do carpentry or something and do that
Hmm.
instead.
Yeah.
And then, like, this kind of ties into one of the questions we asked. We got asked about switching careers
Hmm.
midlife or whatever. Like, the longer you're in your career, the harder it is to just go start over from scratch. So I think that's hard for people because they'll get so far into a career and they just hate it. And then it's like
Hmm.
you're tied to the money. And
Hmm.
it's really hard to not be tied to the money, even if you're not even if you're living below your means. As you make more money, it's really hard to just like go start from zero doing
Hmm.
something else that's not in your skill set.
Hmm.
And people have kind of regrets that they hate what they do, and it's stressful, and it's a not a good type of stress, not a good type of mental stress a lot of times in some of these jobs,
Hmm.
and they just wish they could go build things because it's more satisfying. So I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's just hard because people were sold this idea that it's not an option.
Yeah.
School.
Yeah. I mean, we got
Yeah.
sold go to college. That's the only way to get a good job for a long time. And now it's thanks to social media, we're able to see the other side of it and see, and market our industry and help it out and do those things that are needed to be done to get kind of to try to reverse that negative stigma about the industry.
One thing I will add too, as we're talking about like all of this money, it was on my mind. Just kind of end off with this. I know there's a lot of people in the trades that make a ton of money, and
Hmm.
I think it's hard for people because we talk about this a lot, but it's just on my mind right now.
Hmm.
If you spend all the money you make, you'll be working forever, and you'll be the freaking broke down 67-year-old dude on the job site that freaking has to go to work.
Hmm.
It's important, no matter what you do, to make sure that you're living below your means and saving money and investing your money and doing your retirement stuff. And there's
Hmm.
a lot of people, I think the hard thing about the trades is there's a lot of people that aren't educated about that in particular.
For sure.
That is a thing in our industry I think we need to touch on a lot more to make sure that you're setting money aside and staying on top of your finances, because you can't be spending every penny you make forever and expect to be able to retire on Social Security, because that does not work. That does not work. You got to set your money aside. You got to have a retirement. Otherwise, you will be working forever. And no matter how much anybody likes that what they do, nobody wants to have to go to work when they're 80 years old.
Hmm.
And hopefully you live that long too. I mean, but still, nobody wants to have to work when they're 80. And you're going to end up having to work if you're not on top of your finances. I think we're seeing a really big push to, like, oh, just buy the toy, you don't take your money with you when you die,
The
just go
world's
buy
burning.
it. And it's like, I mean, yes and no. You got to enjoy yourself, but there's a point where being financially responsible also means, you know keeping money over here and consistently putting money to the side to make sure you're taken care of in the future. So
Delayed gratification is a very, very powerful tool.
yeah, yeah, awesome.
Maybe our topic episode could be on that because I do think our industry needs some more education on those things.
Yeah. Well, and then there's so much information all over the place that it's hard to know like what to do as
Hmm.
well. So maybe that's what we do. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe we'll do that for the
bring
next
it.
one. Because
Can bring in one of our financial advisors too if we really wanted to.
yeah, good. And the important thing to remember is that it's not always one answer.
Mm.
and lots of things can be taken in consideration. Yeah, cool. I think that was a good one. You got anything else to add, Jesse?
No, but if you like the episode, share it with somebody and or like and subscribe to all the channels. It's Blue Collar Future. Jaden is on Instagram as well as me. He's got a channel, so if you want to join that on Instagram, you can see all the updates, you can answer questions, all those sort of things there. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Make sure you guys submit your questions. I know a lot of people have questions, and for some reason they're averse to submitting them. So
Yeah,
get a lot
yeah.
of questions not in the when we were asking for them. So
If you ask me like in my DMs or on a video, I'm gonna lose it. So please respond to the prompt.
and sometimes your question you might think it sounds dumb, but it might help someone. So we've had some questions that are different that have been pretty cool, I think. Yes. Awesome, Jesse.
Cool, man. Appreciate you, bro.
We will, I think we covered all that. Like, subscribe, share, and we will see you on the next one.
Good. See you, brother.